In the quiet heartland of America, where tree-lined streets and manicured lawns paint a picture of tranquility, lies Grand Blanc Township, Michigan. It's a community like any other, a place where neighbors know each other by name, and the local church stands as a pillar of the community. But on a calm autumn day, this picture of peace was shattered forever. The date was September 28, 2025. In a small town known for its safety, the unthinkable was about to happen, leaving behind a trail of devastation and questions that haunt the community to this day. What really happened in Grand Blanc Township? The story begins just one day after a significant event for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints worldwide. On September 27, 2025, the church's beloved president, Russell M. Nelson, passed away, sending ripples of mourning through the global LDS community. For the congregation in Grand Blanc Township, a suburb nestled near Flint, Michigan, the following day was meant for solace and shared remembrance. Like thousands of other congregations, they gathered at their local ward building, a place of sanctuary and fellowship to process their collective grief and find strength in their faith. The air was heavy with sorrow, but also with the quiet resilience that defines close-knit communities. Families, from young children to elderly grandparents, filled the pews, unaware that they were standing at the epicenter of a tragedy that would soon draw the eyes of the entire nation. They came seeking comfort, but what they found was terror. The calm of the Sunday service was violently interrupted just after 11 a.m. A heavy-duty pickup truck, moving at a terrifying speed, veered off the road and plowed directly into the side of the church building, the sound of crashing metal and shattering brick echoing like an explosion. But this was no mere accident. Before the dust could even settle, the driver emerged from the wreckage. He was armed. Dressed in tactical gear and carrying a semi-automatic rifle, he stormed through the breach he had just created. Panic erupted. Screams replaced prayers as the congregation scrambled for safety, their sanctuary transformed into a scene of chaos. The attacker opened fire. The first 911 calls flooded dispatch, desperate pleas for help cutting through the morning air. Police and emergency services responded with incredible speed, arriving on the scene within minutes. But the horror was unfolding at a brutal pace. Inside, the attacker had set incendiary devices, and smoke quickly began to fill the chapel. Flames licked at the walls, turning the building into an inferno. The assault was swift, chaotic, and utterly devastating. By the time law enforcement engaged the perpetrator, the damage was already done. Within 8 minutes from the initial crash, the attacker was dead, shot and killed by responding officers. But he didn't die alone. When the smoke finally cleared, the true cost of those 8 minutes became tragically apparent. 4 members of the congregation had lost their lives. Another 12 were injured, suffering from gunshot wounds, burns, and injuries sustained in the desperate stampede to escape. Ambulances rushed the wounded to nearby hospitals, their sirens a mournful soundtrack to the town's newfound grief. The victims were a cross-section of the community they represented: a 6-year-old child, a beloved elderly couple, a young mother. Their ages spanned from just 6 to 78, each a devastating loss that sent shockwaves through families and friends. In the days that followed, the community reeled. Spontaneous memorials appeared outside the charred remains of the church. Piles of flowers, flickering candles, and heartfelt notes became a testament to the town's collective sorrow. Vigils were held, where residents of all faiths gathered under the night sky, their shared tears a silent protest against the violence that had stolen their innocence. Grand Blanc Township was a community united in grief, but also one that was beginning to grapple with the terrifying question that hung in the smoky air. Why? The man behind the massacre was identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old resident of a neighboring town. As investigators pieced together his life, a complex and troubling picture emerged. Sanford was an Iraq War veteran, a former Marine who had served his country with distinction but returned home a changed man. Friends and family described him as increasingly isolated and paranoid in the years leading up to the attack. He worked as a long-haul truck driver, a job that kept him on the road and away from others for long stretches. But there was another, deeply personal tragedy in his life. Sanford was the father of a young son who was battling a rare and aggressive form of terminal cancer. He had spent years fighting for his son's life, navigating a labyrinth of medical treatments and mounting bills. In his desperation, He had turned to political activism, petitioning lawmakers for right-to-try access to experimental drugs not yet approved by the FDA. His pleas, however, were met with bureaucratic silence. He felt ignored, abandoned by the very system he had fought to protect. He believed powerful institutions were standing in the way of saving his son. But this still didn't explain the most crucial piece of the puzzle. Why target this specific church, filled with innocent families? This is where the case goes from a tragic story to a deep, unsettling mystery. The FBI's investigation into Sanford's motives hit one dead end after another. He had no criminal record, no history of violence, and absolutely no connection to the LDS Church or any of its members in Grand Blanc. He wasn't a member. He didn't know anyone who attended. A deep dive into his digital footprint, his emails, social media, and search history revealed no anti-LDS sentiment, no extremist manifestos, nothing to suggest a religiously motivated crime. He hadn't expressed any anger towards the church or its late president, Russell M. Nelson. The timing, just one day after Nelson's death, seemed like it had to be significant, yet investigators could find no link. Was it a coincidence, or was it a clue to a motive so obscure, so personal, that it remains hidden from view? The questions multiplied. Why this church? Why this day? Was Sanford acting alone, or was he part of something larger? The official investigation concluded he was a lone wolf, driven to a breaking point by his personal despair. But for many, especially the families of the victims, that answer feels incomplete. It doesn't explain the choice of target. It doesn't explain the symbolism, if any, of the date. The files may be closed, but the case is far from solved in the minds of those left behind. Today, all that remains of the church building is a scarred foundation, a permanent reminder of the day terror visited a small American town. For lives were lost, a community was forever changed, and the true reason why remains buried with the perpetrator. The official narrative tells a story of personal desperation leading to random violence. But the gaps in that story leave room for endless speculation. Was there a hidden connection we still don't know about? Was the church a symbolic target for reasons only Sanford understood? Or was it, as some investigators believe, a tragic case of a man simply lashing out at the nearest symbol of community and faith in his moment of ultimate despair? The truth may never be fully known. The story of the Grand Blanc Township Church Massacre is a somber reminder that the deepest wounds are often caused by questions that have no answers. What do you think really happened that day? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more in-depth explorations of complex events. Stay safe and take care of one another.